So today we're going to be talking about the Neo-Babylonians. Now, once again, this is pretty much indicative of what we see during this period in history in the ancient Near East. This is kind of constant back and forth and up and down as we see certain factions and groups rise to power and prominence, and then, of course, somebody comes along who's more powerful and results in the collapse of the previous rule. So we know from looking back into our earlier history, we had talked about King Hammurabi, and we talked about the rise of the power of the Babylonians. And of course, we know that they fell and were displaced. And in our last discussion, we talked about the rise of the ancient Assyrians. And so the Assyrians managed to conquer a massive realm, and they were incredibly powerful and widespread in terms of their dominance in the region. But by about the 7th century BCE, the Assyrians kind of begin to lose their foothold. They begin to lose power. They're weakened by a series of military losses. And Babylon begins to reemerge as a military power and contests with the Assyrian Empire. By about 612, the Neo-Babylonian dynasty controls pretty much everything that remained of ancient Assyria. This really kind of came about with a Babylonian king named Nabopolassar, and he had basically set up an alliance with the Persians, with Scythians, with the Medes, and together these groups of people managed to lay waste to Nineveh and end Assyrian dominance. So his son, one of his eldest son and his heir, was a guy by the name of Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar is really quite well known in ancient history because this is the guy who we talk about who went into Jerusalem and destroyed the temple. He's also responsible for the building of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. So it's a guy with some pretty famous background. Now the image that we're looking at here is a striding lion. It's a panel with a striding lion, and this is from Babylon, from the Neo-Babylonian period, dating to about 604 to 563 BCE, during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II. So the Ishtar Gate was this really amazing structure that was built during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II. And he went out on several pretty successful military campaigns and returned and renovated Babylon. And the gate, it was a really unusual object. And we'll see a slide in just a moment here that shows us what it looks like in an artistry construction. But it was just basically this massive pylon that you would pass through on the way into the city. And the gate itself, the original gate, does not survive, although there are several artist reproductions of this, and even some full-scale models of it, which we'll look at. But some of the original bricks do survive. And the way these were created was they're clay bricks that were molded, and they were actually done in a mass production kind of format because they did a lot of these panels. So they were probably cast in a mold or stamped in a mold. And then the bricks were all numbered so that you would know where it went in the pattern. And they were all individually glazed and put together and assembled as panels on the outside of this massive gateway and created these images. Now, these weren't just intended to just be simple animals. There's actually a series of 3 different animals that we see when we look at the panels in the exterior of the gate. The first that we see here, the lion, these lions were sacred to the goddess Ishtar, and this was the Ishtar Gate. So the goddess Ishtar is the primary focus, really, of the structure. We also will see some other panels here. In a moment, we'll see the dragon, which was sacred to Marduk and representative of Marduk, and also the bull of the storm god Adad. So here's an artist reproduction, an image showing us what the gate itself, the original Ishtar Gate, may have looked like. And it was a massive structure. You can get an idea on the scale by looking down at the bottom and seeing the procession of people being brought through the gate. And overall, Babylon was mostly a mud brick city, but important monuments like these were actually created with a blue glazed brick in order to really show their importance. So here's another panel from the Ishtar Gate. This is the dragon of Marduk. He was actually considered to be the patron god of the city of Babylon. So he was also quite important as well. And this is really kind of another one of these interesting composite mythical creatures. You can see that it has the tail of a scorpion. It's got the body of a serpent of some sort, but it also has the paws and in the front of a feline, of a bird of prey in the back, and of course this odd dragon-like or viperish head. So really a very interesting and unusual structure with some amazing decoration. This entrance was really a ceremonial entrance. It was used for religious purposes and processions, and was part of the New Year Day festival, which was a big deal in the ancient city of Babylon. The image you're looking at here is actually a reconstruction of the gate. So this is located in Germany, and it's intended to be essentially a one-to-one scale recreation of part of the gate so that you can get an idea of how this would have really originally appeared.